think I almost always work on Memorial Day. And there's a lot of reasons why. And, primarily because I just want to remind you of a couple of stories that are close to my heart. One, my friend Kenneth Pease, who gave his life in Vietnam as a little child. That's my first vivid childhood memory is, you have those little scattered memories that you have, from your childhood. But that's the one that imprinted on me. And I think it's absolutely the reason why I'm very, very patriotic to this day. Senator Kerry Roberts is joining me this morning. This is his day. He comes in on the fourth Monday. So I messaged him. I said, well, and I guess actually we talked at the graduation. I said, hey, I'll see you. And then you messaged me later and said, oh, that's Memorial Day. You still want me? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. How are you doing?
I'm good. And it's always, somber day. A lot of people don't, for a lot of people, it's just a vacation day.
Yeah.
And,
unfortunately. And,
I'm grateful people have an opportunity to have a day off and spend time with their family and loved ones. For others, it's, obviously it's a sober day of reminder, and it ought to be for all of us. And so there are always a lot of memorial activities throughout the day. So it's when you're an elected official, it takes on all new meaning because you get, in my case with 6 different counties, you get invited to all these different things, and it's
you can't be everywhere.
Well, no, you can't be everywhere, but it's prior to politics, it was it's Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Now it's
Memorial Day.
It's very sober.
Yeah. And Donna Hagan, and her brother's story. His Corporal Terry Smith, he was, I put up a blog, this was many years ago. I'm not sure when I put this up. Okay, it was in 2016. He was in Vietnam and just an absolute bona fide hero, and he was a radio operator. And so I had known her story. And I remember the first time I asked him at church when I first started working there, I wanted to do some things in memory of our soldiers. Number one, we put up a placard that has got the names of our people who have served and worn the uniform. And I've actually got to add names to that because now that I'm not there, I'm a little behind. I've got about 7 or 8 I got to add. But so we did that to just honor the people who are serving in the military. And then when Memorial Day came, I said, do people even know about Donna's brother? And so, I mean, she's a Gold Star family. They're a Gold Star family, losing Terry in Vietnam in action. And so we did a little placard about his story, and then we started hearing about other stories. And so now I do a display. I put up a display every year at the church, like right by the military board, that tells the stories of our Gold Star families. And we have Donna's story about Terry, and then we have Don Wall had a cousin and another, maybe 2 cousins that passed. And then we have a woman there, Becky, that we have 2 Becky. One who had a brother-in-law die in Vietnam, and the other one had another woman named Becky. Her cousin actually died in some kind of his death is classified. And so we have that on there. And just, it's just one of those things just to remember, hey, this isn't free, guys. This isn't free. And so we have that display. But if you don't know, I'll just quickly tell you Terry's story, and I will put the blog up. She allowed me to write this, and I asked her, I said, I just think people need to know his story. And so because he was a radio operator, I titled it, He Might Have Been a Disc Jockey, because that was always my fixation has always been when I hear somebody's story that died in combat. What would they have been if they had lived? Yeah. And I think the same thing about Kenneth Pease was our hired hand, and he had always been there. I mean, as a kid, he was always there. He wasn't a lot younger than my parents, and so Kenneth was always there. And I remember so clearly him leaving, and he seemed excited to my childhood mind. Of course, he'd been drafted, and I mean, he had been there 6 months and stepped on a landmine and was killed. And I will never forget, and I've told this story many times, that phone call that we got, and Mother started crying, and we got in the car and we drove to the field. And you did not take a car into the field unless it was emergency. You waited. If there was a message, if you saw a car coming into the field, you knew there was a problem. And I'll never forget it. Mom and Dad, him coming off the tractor and her telling him and just watching them grieve, Never forget it. Anyway, but so Kenneth Pease, I always wonder what he would have been, right?
How old was he when he passed away?
He was like 19, I guess.
Wow.
I have to look. You'd think that I would just know off the top of my head, but
So many were young.
yeah, very young.
Were so
I
young.
mean, I think he was 19. I think he was 19, and I mean he literally was there. I think about 6 months, and now Terry was I'm not sure of his age either, but now Terry was very, very young. But Terry's story was a little more extensive in the sense that he went in and from the very moment, you can just see this pictures of him and stuff. This is him and Donna right here. And I'll share the picture. I'll share the story here in just a minute. But his tour only lasted 7 months. Wow, I had forgotten that. I haven't read through this in a while. But Terry, he just from the moment he hit the ground, he was just the guy he was given medals and all kinds of stuff. And he was a radio operator, and what they would do is they could hear whenever the weapon was fired by the enemy. And if they were coming in with a helicopter, he would radio them, stay back. They've just fired. And so to warn off the helicopters, they're firing at you, so pull back. Well, the radio wasn't working, and they heard something go up, and he ran out on the hill and waved them off, and he died. But he saved a helicopter full of people.
Wow.
And so there's a gymnasium named for him in Washington. Again, this story is all here, and I could absolutely read it. But he was, given all kinds of awards and accolades for it. But there it is, it's the Terry Smith Gymnasium, and it's at Conoco, I guess is where it is. And but nonetheless, after the war, and there's Donna, look at her with him. This is during the military, and I'll share this so y'all.
So how do we find that blog?
You can go to LaVernVivio.com, my webpage, and I'm going to post it in the. I'll post it on my page as well. I do every year, but the blog post is, if you go to LaVernVivio.com, my webpage has not been updated in forever. It's only got one of my grandchildren on it. I need to do it. I have 4 now. So,
shame on you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just not good at, I don't have any reason to really keep a web page right now.
I have a hard time keeping mine up to date.
And I'm not a politician anymore and all that kind of stuff. And I'm worried about teaching. I don't keep all that up, but I do need to spend some time getting my web page up. But there it says best of the blogs, and you can link it from there. And it's also, that's got all the blogs that I have that you need to know about are there. And but nonetheless, so the story goes at the very end of this, and I tell this a lot of the time at the Vietnam Vets Days, but whenever, right after the war, a buddy of Terry's came to see the family and was asking about a medal. He goes, well, because they had his medals and all that, and then they were asking about, there was a medal he got. He goes, well, where's his so-and-so? Where's this medal? And they said, well, we didn't know he had that one. And he's like, yeah. And what had happened is Terry's effects had been destroyed. A lot of his personal effects, a lot of his personal stuff had been destroyed in an attack, and they never got him. You know how, his like just personal items and things that he might have had. So they didn't get all that back. Well, so they said, well, no, he has this medal coming. And let's see if I can find out. It was a silver star. And, okay, maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I guess I should have read this before I came in here. I read this all the time, and sometimes I read it, for the day. But they had this one medal that they were going to award to him, and they called the family to come to the base, and they gave him the award and gave it to the family. And Donna says, as they walked outside, the paper, the certificate that that authorized the medal, it was like a little dust devil came up and grabbed it out of her mother's hands, and it just disappeared. And they could not find it. It was gone. They had to reissue it. And she says it was almost if Terry came down and said, about time. because he didn't get his medal, because he had not been given his medal. And I just think that's just a powerful story. And I say that a lot of the times when I'm talking to Vietnam vets that it's like, about time. Donna said that he would be so upset. He would have been so upset at how his fellow soldiers were treated. And to see the way that they are being taken care of now, about time. Does that make sense?
It does.
I'm a little scattered,
No, it does make sense. And I have recollections of, I was born in 1961. I just dated myself. And so, so I was too young for the draft, but certainly old enough to remember what it was like when people came home. And my father, who had served as an officer in the Air Force, we of course had a very patriotic family, and just the there was so much to be dissatisfied in the Vietnam War, from decisions that were made in Washington to the decisions made by the public, and I guess I look at things like that and I say, what I would hope we would do is look at that and say, how do we do better?
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of there was just a lot about all of that was wrong, and these 19-year-olds.
Yeah, and Terry was 21. I've just pulled up his. Yeah.
So they were not, 19, 20, 21. They were not responsible for the decisions that sent them over there, or what they had to do when they were there, and so it's just it was just the memories I have were just there's a lot of sadness. And of course, a lot of our veterans came home and just kept it to themselves because they felt like there was no good reason to bring it up, and so it is good to see nowadays the respect that's given, and also but here's something else that's a problem: the lack of acknowledgement of some of the issues that they've had to face. Like, of course, we talk about Agent Orange now, but how many years do we not talk about it?
Forever.
Right. And
forever.
So
he died without any kind of
without any understanding as to what led to all these health problems and things like that. So I'm glad. I would like to think that we've done kind of a national soul searching and thought about things, but the problem is those memories don't last forever, and then we turn right around and we'll do the same thing again later if we're not careful, and that's why it's so important to know our history. And to the veterans that are listening now, you have two people in a radio studio right now who deeply appreciate what you did.
Amen.
And so I will say someone in the media, and can I say someone formerly in the media? Can I call myself that?
Yeah, exactly.
At least for a portion
did
of my
radio.
life.
You're the one who got me started on this thing here locally.
So two people in the media, and one a has-been and one a current, and who deeply appreciate the sacrifices and the willingness that people made to defend our liberty and defend our freedom, and even more important, to be willing to make a commitment to defend the liberty and freedom of the people that we could have just ignored.
Absolutely.
And so that's always a tough situation, is when you step into the affairs of another country. And versus when you say, well, this is not an imminent threat to us, but yet here are people who are helpless and can't defend themselves, so we step up and we help. That's always going to be a debate. It needs to be a debate, because there are times when you go and times when you don't, and so it needs to be a transparent debate, and we make a decision that hopefully be the right one. But regardless.
That's something that Donna says about Terry as well, is when people remember him, they remember him talking about how these kids deserve to have the kind of freedom we have. And there was one of his commanders in particular that talked about how on the radio one time he heard Terry talking about how this country's beautiful. These kids deserve to enjoy it. and talking about how it reminded him of his Tennessee home and things like that. So he was remembered very well for just caring about the people that they were there helping deeply. And that's why he's been honored in the way he was. But, as we were talking about their ages, I looked up the age. Terry was 21 and Kenneth had just turned 20. He had a birthday earlier in the year, and so he would have been just 20.
Far too young.
Yeah, far too young. And like I said, just not a whole lot younger than my parents. And so they were friends, and it just and Kenneth never had an opportunity to well, neither did Terry. I mean, I hear more about what Terry had because of the radio operator and all that. We don't know a lot about what Kenneth was doing. Now, Kenneth was his brothers. I went to whenever they had the estate sale for their parents. The brothers were there, and there was a Vietnam helmet there, and I said, they said, no, we're selling it, and I said, well, can I buy it? Because I didn't want to buy it away from a family member.
Right.
So I was able to buy one of Kenneth's helmets that I kept, and we talked, and they said that the minute they knew what his job was, because he was a minesweeper, had a dog, and they said we knew he wasn't going to make it home, and they felt like he probably did too, So I tell too, it's so interesting to me that they gave him a dog because this is a country boy. This is a, farmhand country boy, just good to the bone. And one of my clear memory of him and my dad is we would go to the field as kids, my sister and I, and we would play on the lime that they had piled out by the field. We had big piles of lime. We'd be playing on the lime and they'd be farming. That's how we did it back then. And we were playing, and my dad and Kenneth come up out of the woods, and they've got puppies in their shirts, hiding them from my mother because they had found these puppies. We called them wild dogs. Strays would have puppies up in the woods, and wild dogs were the puppies we always had when I was a little bitty. And so they were sneaking these puppies to us because they knew the minute that we saw them, Mother wouldn't say no. And so Daddy and Kenneth come out with these puppies in their shirts. And so I just think about that when I think about him having a dog over there, So anyway, but it's Memorial Day, guys, and I like to tell the stories of the people I know. So in case you don't know anybody.
And I didn't, by the way, I didn't know that about Donna's brother. And if Donna and John are listening, I'm going to go on the blog and read about Terry.
And I will share it. Like I said, I will share it here in just a little bit. But I shared it earlier last week because I said, hey, as you're preparing for Memorial Day, this is a story you need to know. And I wrote a piece about Kenneth many years ago, that was in the newspaper, in the Paducah Sun. And that's probably one of the first things I wrote, because I never really thought about myself as a writer, at all. And I just wanted to tell the impact he had on my life. And, so I wrote that, and it's super, it was just a short little piece, but so I wrote that. I don't know if I could even find that thing, but nonetheless, you need to know these stories. So
where in Kentucky did you grow up?
Halfway between Mayfield and Paducah.
Okay.
I'm from Graves County. Mayfield is our county seat. And because, I told everybody after the tornado, I said, I pulled up to that courthouse twice to take my driver's test because I flunked it the first time. And
do you have a Mayfield address?
No, we had a Bose address, just like Kenneth was closer. Kenneth lived in Hickory.
How do you spell Boaz?
B-O-A-Z.
Like Boaz.
Yeah, but you say Bose, but it's B-O-A-Z.
So you go down off the
I-24. Well,
you get
45 highway. Our farm,
okay,
the farm that my father grew up on and that my brother now owns and runs is on the 45 highway.
Diane's from South Fulton.
Okay.
Did you know that?
I don't think, maybe we've talked about that and I had forgotten, but yeah. So
not too far from. I've ridden my bike up around probably where your farm is.
Did you ever go see Mayfield after the tornado?
Not after the tornado, but we've driven through there. You could take the scenic route.
Yeah.
And go through, Murray and Mayfield or whatever. But we typically go 24 and then go down.
Yeah. You drive through the downtown square sometimes. We still have crooked stoplights. It's a mess. They've just never. I mean, because the federal government came in, and that was kind of like the poster child, and it's just still a mess. It's just still. I mean, it's just nothing there. It's just gone. And it's just that's the thing I was telling Ryan Martin. I'm so proud of our city and how they've put everything. I mean, how they're getting busy and getting this done. Of course, it's a commercial interest doing it. I'm sure, where we had the tornado damage here in Springfield, but that was the problem. You've got an area. Mayfield was not thriving financially, and then to have that devastation come through, it's like, well, what's the incentive of putting it back? And the historic district's gone. I said, just imagine Springfield with the courthouse and the downtown square gone, and the historic district. That's what happened to Mayfield, because it was like that. That's one reason why I was drawn to Springfield, is because it reminded me so
Mayfield
much.
was pretty, yeah.
It was beautiful, and it reminded me so much of Mayfield. But yeah, the farm I grew up on was really much closer to Mayfield than Paducah. But we were right there. I don't know if you know where Leader Bottom is. That's where the Graves County and McCracken County, that county line is, you can cross into McCracken and you can buy liquor. So it was like, they called it Leader Bottom, and they say you can lead her in and drag her out. And that was, I swear, that was just one of the things it was said.
You wouldn't say that
bars.
Today. Yeah.
There were bars, and so yeah, just right across the county line, not too far from where I grew up.
Diane, South Fulton and Fulton.
Yeah.
So anyone that went to UT Martin knows South Fulton, because you went through South Fulton to get to Fulton to buy your beer.
Yes, because that was the thing. You can go to Fulton, or you can go to Paducah, and that's where you bought your booze. But anyway, it is Memorial Day, and I do encourage you, if you do not know a story of somebody who gave it all for your country, please take time to read the piece I wrote about Donna Hagen's brother, Terry Smith, and I'll see if I can't find what I wrote many years ago about Kenneth, but there's lots of stories out there. Just Google, stories about the ones who died in World War II or Korea, and people who are still missing,
and
still
let me,
MIAs.
Yeah, and let me offer this. If you don't have anything to go to, just drive up to the square, park your car, and just, we've got the Vietnam Memorial there. If you go to, Springfield Memory Gardens, you've got a memorial there, and just, sit for a moment and say a prayer for these families.
Is there something? What is on this? Do we have the Vietnam?
There's a memorial in the square. So there's
you mean the one that's permanently there?
Yeah.
The mobile one is not.
No, I'm not. No.
Did I miss that?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Just there are multiple memorials, but just
right.
Just
absolutely.
Just say a prayer for the families, and God knows who they are.
You better believe it. And I'll tell you now, the families that lost these loved ones, they still grieve. I mean, are you kidding me? I know Donna. I have actually invited Donna on a couple of times to talk about Terry, and she can't do it, and I understand. And she may eventually get to where she wants to come on, but I invited her several Memorial Days in a row, and I've quit asking. But I will ask her again, and she may get to a point where she wants to, but it's super hard. And let me just kind of put this little caveat out too. They donated some furniture one time, and by mistake, the people came and picked it up when Donna and John were not there. And they grabbed a hope chest they weren't supposed to take that was full of letters Terry had written her.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you ever, and so part of me wonders if anybody comes across any letters written by Terry to Donna, we know where they belong, because some people will find those kinds of things and keep them because they're interesting.
Right. And
so if you ever come across a stack of letters from Vietnam that were from Terry to Donna, they're Donna Hagen's, but nobody knows what happened to them. The reason we found out about it, somebody called John, and they were having a sale. They were having the yard sale, and his diploma was laying out on the ground from Lipscomb or something, one of his diplomas.
It was in the hope chest.
And that's how they found out about it. And by the time they got there to get that nobody knew what happened to the letters. And they may have gotten thrown away. I don't know. But I feel like somebody picked them up, because that's interesting. Because if they laid out the diploma, they must have laid the other things out too. And they just didn't have the wherewithal to go, we should not sell this. But anyway, if you ever come across a stack of letters written to Donna by Terry from Vietnam, they belong to Donna Hagen. So I was on Nashville radio when that happened, and we talked about it on Nashville radio because I was like, did anybody pick those up? Because I kept thinking maybe somebody saw them, and you just never know. But I would love for us to find those letters, man. But anyhow, Memorial Day. Have a good Memorial Day. I don't like to say Happy Memorial Day. Have a good Memorial Day, and think about those who paid the ultimate price. And I have posted the blog. It's on my page now, and so you can go and read the one. It's called "He Might Have Been a Disc Jockey." And like I said, the story about that medal and the little dust devil that grabbed it at the end, I just think that's crazy. That's just crazy. But Senator Kerry Roberts is with us today. It is his day to kind of recap what's going on in his world. And, he is our state senator, and he serves us well, along with how many other counties?
I have 5 full counties and part of Montgomery County.
Okay.
So Robertson, Cheatham, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, and part of Montgomery.
He's busy. We're going to do a quick ad, and then we're going to come back and we're going to continue our conversation and let him kind of fill us in on what's going on in his world. But I do need to ask, have you gotten Cumberland Connect?
No.
Come on.
I was motivated last time I was in here to call him, but I've just been so busy. And
I know.
It's not that difficult of a phone call to make, obviously. That part's easy, but trying to decide how I want it to come to the house is the challenge. Yeah.
I got you, but the bottom line is we weren't expecting Senator Roberts to get it until kind of the end in Robertson County, because he was one of the first. He was pretty well served because he lives close into town, so he had some options. For those of us who didn't have any options, that had terrible internet for so many years, we were right at the top of the list, and it is wonderful to have great connectivity. I'm working on getting a battery backup for my modem, because here's the thing: when the power goes out, you still have a modem that all you got to do is power it, and you can still have internet. And because we need that stuff. Where I live down the hall, if I don't have my internet to boost my phone, my cell phone's worthless. I've got to have that internet boost to help get my calls through. And I'm kind of thinking about getting a landline again. And Cumberland Connect can do that, just so I've got a backup. But it's wonderful. They can put an extender to where I can get the internet in my outbuildings, and it's super cheap. I mean, it is nothing compared to what I was spending for things like I was spending $65, had terrible coverage. And then I had Dish Network, and I had all the different things trying to bring, the news and those kinds of things into my house. I canceled it all, and all I have now is Cumberland Connect. It's wonderful. $80 gets you a gig, and a gig is all you need. It is, you don't really have to have a gig. My kiddos say that's like filling a bathtub with a fire hose, but hey, why not? And they've got all kinds of packages, though, to fit your budget, to fit your needs. And if you want to know more, go to cumberlandconnect.org, cumberlandconnect.org. If you put in your address, they will tell you just when to expect them. And more than likely, they're already in your neighborhood and can hook you up right away. So give them a call or go online, cumberlandconnect.org, cumberlandconnect.org. Put in your address or give them a call at 800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362. And as always, please let them know U-Turn sent you. And we'll all encourage Senator Roberts to get it done. And
you're listening to the world's best music.
Get his internet hooked up soon. So anyway, so what's going on in your world? You had quite a little. That's so funny. I don't listen to Nashville radio at all anymore.
Oh my goodness!
And I turn on social media, and I don't spend much time there. I put my show up, and then I go away. I look for my grandkids' pictures, and that's about all I do. And
you are a smart woman.
But I will see occasionally, because it just sucks you in. I'll go to check on and see what's going on with one of my kids, and the next thing I know, I'm seeing stuff in the timeline. And I'm like, prayers, all that kind of thing. You do those little things, and then I see this story about, did anybody hear the interview with Kerry? And it was
a little bit of drama.
Yeah, it was like, what? And we won't say who the interview was with, but you said, was it after the fact he called you a liar?
No, well, okay.
It's like, come on.
So how much of this do you want me to tell?
As much as you want to tell. I'll just, the talk show host in question is reputed even from where he was originally And he said that I have a friend of mine that's a big that's a fan of his, and said that he was kind of known in his original. Where was he from? Atlanta, maybe. That everybody in Atlanta is wondering if he's made all the politicians mad here. That he, has a reputation for. No, he was. Let's see. He was in Alabama. Said he is known for making the politicians mad. He was in Alabama last week. This is my friend talking, and said people were wondering if he'd made all the politicians in Nashville mad. And so that's his reputation. And so it kind of strikes me, being a broadcaster, that's his shtick. Okay. It's like he's gonna be argumentative, and he's just trying to get the clicks by being argumentative to me. I haven't heard him.
Yeah.
I haven't heard him. But whenever I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's his thing. It's like I'm going to pick fights with everybody. And he can do it with the politicians because everybody hates politicians. I told you, somebody said to me the other day, there's no good politicians. I'm like, well, I know some. I do know some. And you are one.
Well,
and you are honest. And that's what I told my friend. I said, here's the thing.
He called me a liar twice.
Yeah, and I said...
And he called me a liar because he didn't understand the topic.
Yeah. And it's
it was out of his own ignorance, and that's what... So here's what happened.
Yeah. But it kind of frustrated me because I know you, and I know you're not a liar.
And just for full disclosure, you and I had talked about this before, and so I knew we would...
Do you want to talk about this or not?
And I texted, to the listeners, I texted LaVern, and I just said... Yeah, I'm more than happy to talk about it, but after thinking about it, I don't want to say his name and I don't want to say the radio station because, first of all, it was just a disaster, period, and I don't think it made him look good, and I don't think it made me look good. But here's what happened: the origin of this, the genesis of this, was some radio station in Memphis did a tweet saying that a jet full of illegal aliens has departed, allegedly departed LaGuardia from Memphis, okay? And conditions are deplorable. That's the tweet, something like that. And so this website, which I will name, Tennessee Conservative News, which I've never been someone who followed that website. I absolutely will not follow it now because it's nor I mean, this is not a new decision, but it's just like, these are the people who are, the church people that say everybody else is going to hell but us? Yeah. Okay. They're the political equivalent of that. We are the only conservatives, we're the only true Republicans, and everybody else is a rhino. So you cast one vote, and the headline is you're a rhino. And it's just about, look, let me tell everybody, when you don't have any apparent source of income except for clicks, what is that? What are you doing? You're trying to get clicks.
That's right.
Okay, so that's what it boils down to. So you've got all these people that are just trying to get clicks. So they pick up the story, and the headline, of course, is, if these rhinos in the Tennessee Senate had passed this bill, this would not have been allowed. Okay. Now let me just ask you a question. Okay. How stupid is that headline? It's irresponsible. It's absurd because first of all, there's no law. Yeah. There's no law that we would pass that would stop a jet from landing. If the Biden, now, first of all, could we just also back up a little bit and realize who the problem is with? The problem is with the Biden White House totally ignoring federal immigration law, paroling all of these people into the United States. And if indeed, and that's a big if, but if indeed there was a jet full of illegal aliens flying from LaGuardia to Memphis, there was no law in the Tennessee books that could or would stop that. And even if there was, who was going to be there on the tarmac to tell the plane, no, you can't land? That is absurd. And it's ludicrous. I mean, you could have passed a law that said the National Guard is going to be there to, put spikes on the runway so the plane can't land. Yeah. Or they're going to be there to arrest people as they get off, or they're going to be there to arrest the pilot, or they're going to find the pilot, or they're going to do this, or they're going to do that. All you would do is create an incident where, you're going to start a war between the federal government and Tennessee. Now, maybe that's what these people want. I don't know. But anyway, it's just ludicrous to say that. But so the bill that they're referring to, we've talked about this before, the bill that they're referring to, since 2007, we've had a law in the books that says it's a $1,000 fine to knowingly transport someone who is illegal. But oh, by the way, common carriers are exempted and religious organizations are exempted. So the bill in question that would have prevented this increased the fine from $1,000 to $5,000. That's it.
That's all it did.
That's it.
Wouldn't stop it.
Now,
yeah, just be a fine.
There were amendments to the bill subsequently, proposed amendments that would have eliminated the common carrier exemption and so forth. But there's a larger issue here, and that is, what do you mean when you say illegal alien? Okay, because to different people it means different things. And first of all, you need to get some agreement here, because are we talking about, see, just because you have work authorization doesn't mean you have legal status. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, it means you could be here, but you can't vote, you can't this, you can't that, you don't have citizenship, right? So you could be here as a refugee. You could be here under a visa. You could be here because you have been, the terminology is what Biden's doing right now at the southern border, you've been paroled into the United States. Okay? So you've got to sort of pick exactly who you're talking about when you use the term illegal alien, because to one person, anyone that doesn't have citizenship is an illegal alien, and to another person, it means somebody who is a criminal who came across the border in the cover of darkness. And so, and those words matter, and I mean, he didn't get that because he kept thinking that I was trying to play word games, but my point was, if we don't define it, some crazy liberal judge will define it.
Right.
And a crazy liberal judge will define it in a way that we don't want it defined, to where it will only be the teeniest, tiniest, subset of any of this. So anyway, so he didn't get that, number one. Number two, he didn't understand. And I will say this, if you talk to some of the sharpest attorneys you know, ask them, hey, what do you think of immigration law? A good number of them will say, I steer clear of that, because it's just kind of a convoluted mess. And immigration law is very complicated, and trying to get all this stuff right is hard because people don't understand it. But anyway, here was a larger point. The larger point is there's not anything in the bill that was going to stop that. And so I was speaking to the Tennessee Firearms Association Tuesday night at their Nashville meeting, and that question came up, and I explained why the bill wouldn't have changed it, but I also explained why the bill wasn't given a motion and a second. Now, here's something that gets missed. If your name is on a bill, you own the bill, so to speak, okay? So I don't have a right to change your bill. Now, I can change your bill, but you know what you can do? You can say, no, thanks, I'm not interested, and you just halt, you can effectively kill the bill. So it's not only, first of all, you own the bill. So I don't get to fix your bill. And that was what he kept saying. Why didn't you just fix it? You could have fixed his bill. You could have done this. You could have done that. You're a liar, and all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, well, first of all, there's kind of a professional courtesy here that I don't, go redo your bill without your permission. And the bill was dead in the House, and that's a whole nother topic. I mean, a lack of understanding of a bicameral legislature. Why pass a bill in the Senate if it's dead in the House? Now, technically, it wasn't dead in the House yet. But this, and I don't want to get into House drama, and I probably shouldn't say this, but everybody and their brother knew that particular House sponsor was in the doghouse, and they knew his bill wasn't going to pass, period. Well, guess what? That guy in the House is very good friends with the Tennessee conservative news people, and very good friends with the Tennessee Stands people. And so all these far right, alt right, kind of people that think they're the only ones going to heaven, they're all, what they're really upset about is they're upset about the fact that their guy hadn't passed. Well, I think he passed one bill, but his bill was dead in the House. We knew it was dead in the House. were the Senate sponsor knew it was dead in the House, and some of this inside baseball that a Nashville talk radio host ought to understand, he didn't understand. And one of the things that he didn't understand is, we're in session January, February, March, April. If you wait until what's called the last calendar, in other words, if you're waiting till the last meeting of judiciary to run your bill, you just said to us, you don't care about the bill. You don't have to even use words. We know what it means, okay? It means you don't care about the bill. You're just running it because you told the House or some House sponsor, some constituent that you'd run it.
You're like, well, I tried.
Well, yeah, basically. Or it could be, now, in fairness, that's not always true. And sometimes it's what I call cram down. You're just trying to wait till the last minute and cram it down so nobody will make any changes to it. But the bottom line is there's no time. And so for someone to sit here and say, well, you could have changed it if you wanted it, just exhibits a lack of understanding of the way the process works. And no, I don't get to be king for a day, and I don't get to wave my magic wand, and I don't get to change it because I'm one vote.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's not my bill. Second of all, there are 8 other people on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and then there are 33 senators, and there are 99 House members, and there's not just Senate Judiciary, but over in the House, it has to go through 4 different subcommittees and committees, and it was dead. It was dead. And I'm sorry if you don't want to admit that your guy was not going to be able to get across the finish line, but you're throwing, you're blaming the wrong person is the bottom line. And why are you even shooting the messenger in the first place? Why are you not looking at the bill and saying, well, that bill didn't do anything? I mean, seriously, you're changing a fine from 1,000 to 5,000, and that's going to stop a plane from landing?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So I'm a liar. And it degraded quickly. And, you get to a point in radio where, and I don't know if this guy knows that I was in radio before or not, but you know how it is, LaVern. If you do a call in and your guest won't shut up, you have a choice to make. You can either shut up and let them speak, or you can go over there and you can turn off their mic, right? That's your choice. So I decided he kept interrupting me. My gosh. And the problem with interruption is you can't finish your thought or you cannot fully explain something. So then let's say you've got a multi-layered explanation that you got to hit 4 different layers or 4 different levels to have a thorough, full picture of what took place. So you get interrupted after number 1 with gotcha, and you never even get to 2, 3, or 4. So first of all, I never got a full explanation. And the problem with partial explanations is they are akin to partial truths. And partial truths are often deceptive in nature, right? So you've heard me say this. Our definition of the truth is the absence of any intent to deceive. So I'm wanting to give a full explanation, but all he does is keep interrupting me and keep cutting me off. And I never had a chance to a full interruption. So finally, I just talked over him. And from my standpoint, I'm like, okay, I'm going to dare you to cut off the microphone or shut up. So he shut up. And then he kept saying, well, I'm going to give you the last word. Silence. I'm going to give you the last word. Silence. But you know what he does as soon as we go off the air? Do you think he gave me the last word?
Oh, heavens no.
So then he keeps on talking about it. So I've moved on, and it's he can and then I had all these people call me and say, and this is the funny thing, more people called me who heard about it than heard it.
Yeah. I mean,
so they weren't listening to the show.
Yeah.
And they're saying, why in the world did you go on his show? And I said, what do you mean? I thought he was one of the good guys. And they're like, no, that's what he does to people. And they did. They said he did it. They did it to Mark Green. He did it to Mark Green sometime previously. And so. And
it's so funny that you said the truth is the absence of any intent to deceive, because, I am the audio video teacher at Greenbrier. And my last section of what I tested my students on was on ethics in the media and just in general. And I said, the foundation of ethics is the truth. And I had them memorize word for word, the truth is the absence of any intent to deceive, and then explain it. And it was a big question on the final for every one of my students. And I told them where I got it, because that's something you shared with me when I dipped my toe in the political water, because somebody had shared that with you.
Yeah, Steve Brumfield. I want to give credit where credit is due. A guy named Steve Brumfield, who worked for Gerald Ford, going all the way back to the Ford administration. But yeah, Steve Brumfield Associates in Nashville. That's who shared that with me, and I don't know who shared it with him or if it was original to him, but it's a great thing. And so when all is said and done, I the funny thing about it was I sent him a text after it was over, and I just said, "Hey, we're good. Don't worry about it. We're both passionate, and that's what happens." And but then I got these passive-aggressive text messages later from him, and I just thought, okay, apparently we're not good. And then I went back and listened to it, which I shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize he called me a liar when we were on the air because I was trying to talk over him, right?
Yeah.
And so then, and I had a couple of people text me and just say, I'm completely incensed. So what I heard when all was said and done, and I just stopped looking, I heard that several people had probably come to my defense, but I'm not going to worry about it. And here is, and if he goes back and hears this or someone forwards this to him, I'm just going to simply say this: it made us both look bad. And I was talking to somebody else at the radio station subsequently to it, this particular radio station. He's a friend of mine. And I just said, I think it made both of us look bad. It was not good radio. It was not at all good radio. And if that's the approach that this individual is going to take, he probably won't be sitting in that seat for very long, because the concern that was immediately expressed to me is, are we going to have any Tennessee senators who come on our station again?
Yeah.
And I mean that,
and to that point, nobody's going to want to go on the show.
That is a real concern. Do I think no one will? Probably not, because you're in election year and you got tight elections and people want to be on the air, but if they don't have to be, they probably wouldn't be. And I'm not in an election year. I'm not up for re-election until 2026. Let me just say, I'm running, as far as I know, I'm running in 2026. Lord willing, the creek don't rise, right? But
exactly.
But I'm not in an election year, and so I've had some people say, "Why are you not running for re-election?" It's because I have a 4-year term. Yeah. And the problem is, last time I didn't have any opponent at all, so there are some people who didn't realize I ran, in 2022, but I got reelected in 2022. I just did not have an opponent.
Yeah.
And so I'm not on the ballot until 2026.
Yeah. So we got to pause and take a break.
Yes.
Talking with Senator Kerry Roberts. It is Memorial Day. If you missed the first part of the show, go back and listen. And we talked a lot about some people who we remember. Terry Smith, the brother of Donna Hagen, and my friend Kenneth Pease. And if you have anybody you want us to check out, send me some info on it, and I will be glad to add that to the show the next time. And maybe share the information with everybody as well. But information I need to share with you at this moment, we have sponsors that we appreciate very, very much. Barry and Rebecca Richards, longtime sponsor, full-time sponsor of this program. Cannot say enough about the friendship they have been as far as helping us get to bring you one street over. And I love what they do, because they're just, they're into everything when it comes to the real estate community. Rebecca's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. They're always studying and digging into the latest thing and what they need to know. Barry came into it full time, I want to say about 6 years ago now, and he is a broker in the Springfield area. And so on the square, they have an office right there on the square. So they took that brokerage office and then took her real estate agency office out of White House, put those two together, and brought you a new branch in the Exit Tree. They were the Garden Gate team, but now they are Exit Prime Realty. Again, same great team, just a new branch in the tree. Barry is the marketer of the bunch. He is very good at it. He is the one that I go to when I have questions about equipment and drones and videography and all of those things. He came in and did a demo with my kids about how to do walkthrough tours, and flew an indoor drone for them to show them how they use that in real estate, and just all those things. Expert photographer, just very good at what he does. So if you're selling property, you want it to be seen in the best light, there you go. It's nice to have a marketer on the team. If you want to reach out to them, you can call Rebecca 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. They specialize in Robertson County properties because they've been here for nearly 30 years. They're cross-Plainians, and but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky, because guess what? They're from Kentucky, just like me. So they know their stuff. They're great at what they do. If you want some help in real estate, maybe you want to be a realtor, reach out to them today. Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty, and when you do, please let them know. Senator Kerry Roberts is in the house. We're talking about all does. So what do you do when you're not being the senator?
It's a never-ending job because
No, I'm just teasing.
well, the funny thing about it is that I liberally gave out my cell phone number, and going all the way back to 2014 when we had the new district, and 2012 and 13 when I was out of office and having to prepare for running for the new district. So I get a lot of requests and phone calls, and that's fine. It's kind of turned into a full-time job, but my official job is that I teach continuing education to CPAs, and generally I'm really, really busy in the fall. This year I started early. I started in May, and in fact I'm teaching a class on Wednesday. It's sometimes I do it in person, and sometimes I do it online. So I really need the Cumberland Connect desperately.
Yes, you do.
I do, and I didn't realize I've got one sneaking up on me on Wednesday that I will do for Oregon, but I do it virtually. And I've got one coming up. This is a disappointment. I finally got asked by the Hawaiian Society of CPAs to teach a class for them, but they want to do it virtually.
Oh man,
I've never been
You're
to
like,
Hawaii.
Come on, let me come there. That's great.
But I'll be going to Texas. I'll be going to Traverse City, Michigan. How close is that to where Mark's from?
I don't think
I don't know where Traverse City is. So
I think it's in Lower Michigan because he's from the upper.
He's a Youper.
He's a Youper. Say out to the UPA.
Yeah. So I've got several trips. The one I always look forward to every year. I do a lot of work for the North Carolina Society of CPAs, and they have a beach cluster every year. So I get to go to the beach. Now the problem is I'm teaching 8 hours a day, but you still, when it's done, you get to go walk the beach and kind of unwind a little bit. And Diane will go with me, and that's always fun. And I used to do a lot with Georgia Society of CPAs, and they were trying post-COVID to get back to doing it in person, but they just weren't well attended. So the ones I do with them are virtual. But I get to do Tennessee, so I'll do Memphis and Chattanooga and Knoxville, and I'm looking forward to that. That'll be later in the year, but so I do that, and then of course we're trying to get our construction project at home done, and we're probably maybe within a couple of months of being done with that. Our son's going to get married our youngest is getting married in the fall.
You're kidding?
Yeah, I know.
Really?
Yeah, it's so.
It didn't seem possible.
Well, so
he's still a child.
Listen,
Goodness.
he is he's 21, about to be 22,
Okay.
and
God, it doesn't seem possible.
I know, but
Since he's littling.
Yeah, but he he has had his girlfriend since high school.
Well, congratulations.
And
That's
so she went to TCAT for cosmetology, and so she's just graduated, and she's still taking a couple classes, but she went ahead and did the graduation. And so they were talking about wanting a fall wedding. So we're thinking, all right, we've got plenty of time to plan.
So they're going to get married.
And then he said, no, we want to get married this fall. And it's like, he's still in school, and he's going to go to graduate school, but he's such a good student, pretty much everything's, he's on scholarship and everything like that. And so, so they decided they didn't want to wait. They were talking about, 2025, and then they decided they didn't want to wait, so they decided to get married this October.
Okay.
So
congratulations.
Yeah. So we're excited for them, and she's precious, and it's and they've been together for a long time, and so we're excited for both of them.
Now, he's on engineer path, isn't he?
He switched to meteorology.
Oh, fascinating.
And although tech doesn't have a pure meteorology program, it's more like a geosciences kind of thing.
Interesting.
But that's why he'll go to graduate school.
Okay.
And but he's not interested in being like meteorologist on TV. He's interested in just the study of the stuff behind the scenes. So, for example, when we have bad weather, like last night and yesterday, and of course you were talking about having a tree down, and did a tornado touchdown in Orlando, for example. So the people with the National Weather Service go back and study these things and look at these things, and they try to determine what happened, because the classification of those things is what leads to FEMA or not, and among other things. And by the way, even with FEMA has been very frustrating for Springfield city officials, because you get the criteria. You can have a lot of damage, but it splits into whether it was residential or whether it's commercial, and it's just typical Washington bureaucracy.
That's why things have not been done in Mayfield, is because of FEMA.
Yeah,
because of you can do this, you can't do that. I mean, we have got an amazing Mennonite and Amish community up in that area, and they want to come in and help and put things back together, and would have it done now.
Well,
but they just tie their hands.
And a lot of it, some of the, and this is not Springfield's problem, but some of these municipalities don't. Springfield had gone through this before. But how you go through the process is also, affects the outcome. And Springfield city officials knew exactly what to do, how to do it. And I think, and this would be a question for them, but I think TEAM is probably pretty helpful on some of the education hand-holding. And so Springfield did it well. But then they still run up to the bureaucracy. Well, if you maybe, and I have no idea in Mayfield, but maybe somebody doesn't do it well, good luck. I mean, you're
I'm not there, so I'm not going to say much.
I don't know, but
I've heard stories.
So,
I've heard stories.
But you have a lot more resources probably available to you when you're part of the halo of a major metropolitan city, and so I don't know, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but FEMA can be great, and then other times you can just beat your head against the wall.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do a break. I need to pause and do my final break, and then we'll wrap up with Senator Kerry Roberts. But just interesting just to kind of catch up with him and see what's going on in his world. And he's, easy to talk to, guys. If you need to reach out to him, reach out to Janet. And she can hook you up and make sure that you can talk with him. He represents us well. We want to talk about one of our sponsors, Veterans Motorplex. Now, it was really neat. At the last day of school, we had these little flyers that came in, and we could take a flyer and go to the races for free as teachers. And that's the kind of stuff Jerry does all the time. He's always inviting the teachers and the kiddos to come out. They got a great ticket price all the time. $40 can bring up to 8 people, up to 6 kids and 2 adults for a $40 ticket price. It is a family-friendly environment. No alcohol sold or served there or allowed. They've got a great concession stand. If you come in, you can come in and have your dinner, hang out with your kids. They'll do some big wheel races and some of the intermissions and things that they'll do. But you'll see some teenagers out racing. But it is a fabulous track, and I had no idea how much fun it was going to the races until I started going last year. But our racing season runs through October. It might extend a little bit because we got a little bit of a late start because of the work they were doing out at the track. But you can go out there on Saturdays, weather permitting. Sometimes we will have a rain delay, something like that, or maybe they'll have to postpone it. Or maybe they'll even move it to Sunday nights. They have done that in the past. You need to follow them at Highland Rim Speedway. Highland Rim Speedway, if you follow them there, you'll find out all you need to know about what's happening at Veterans Motorplex. It is a quarter-mile high-banked asphalt bull ring, fast quarter-mile high-banked asphalt bull ring right here in the heart of Robertson County up in Greenbrier, 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. Locals know it well. It's the old Highland Rim Speedway, now Veterans Motorplex, and we invite you to come out Saturdays through October to the races. And when you do, please always let Jim know that he sent you. Senator Roberts, what do you have to say?
Well, I'll wrap it up and I'll say this. It's been a frustrating couple of months. Which just, I've been at this for 10 years now, and I've gone 10 years without anybody ever questioning whether or not I was a conservative.
I know, and lately it's just like, what?
And it's it all comes from one website, okay? Yeah. And so this was kind of a delicious irony, okay? One of the most conservative organizations out there, if not the most conservative organization, is the Eagle Forum.
Yes.
Okay. So Tennessee Eagle Forum, Bobby Petray is an icon and a treasure. And I got their annual Eagle Forum Award this year for the work that we did, ironically, on illegal immigration.
Crazy.
So I've got this one website, versus someone who's been, who is literally iconic in the conservative movement, been doing this for 40 years. And we repealed a bill that, frankly, we should never have passed in the first place. And it was just stunning. I mean, the way God works in these things. The brief story is in 2022, we passed a law that was sort of misrepresented by I hate to say it, by the Democrats in the Chamber of Commerce as a workforce bill, and it was really a bill that kind of opened up occupational licensing to people who don't have the real status to be here. In other words, these people that Biden is paroling in the United States. And so the Chamber of Commerce had this initiative, and I'm not talking about the Robertson County Chamber, I'm talking about the National Chamber of Commerce, had this initiative. They passed this in like 28 other states maybe or something like that, and spent millions of dollars passing it. And it's an open borders, no one's illegal, that kind of thing. And so Dr. Kumar and I had a bill that we piggybacked on that bill, and we repealed that public chapter. It's called Public Chapter 911, ironically. Yeah. And so we repealed it. And I don't think anyone really on the Democrat side really understood what we did, because it passed the Senate unanimously, and even the Democrats voted for it. So either they didn't catch what was going on, or they just realized that the 2022 law was problematic and needed to go. But we don't get to preempt federal code when it comes to immigration. Constitutionally, immigration is the role of the federal government, and a role of the federal government is immigration. And so we did that, and that was that bill, when it passed in 2022, caused a great deal of consternation among the conservative movement. And then we got it repealed, and nobody's was really talking about it. But Eagle Forum was there every step of the way, and they were very involved in it, and they got kind of the front row insider's look on everything. So that was kind of neat. That was fun. And I was floored. I don't do things for. I try to do things because they're the right thing to do. I really don't worry about the consequence. The way I look at it is, if you're doing what God wants you to do, you don't have to worry about that stuff.
Amen.
And you'll get tripped up in a heartbeat if you start worrying about your next election. You've heard the old adage, the politician cares about the next election, the statesman cares about the next generation. Yep. We need more statesmen.
Yes.
And fewer politicians.
You are a statesman, and I know
try
the
to
man, and I tell you right now, I just wanted to give you some time, even on Memorial Day, to kind of, address that, because it's kind of out there. But again, we don't want to take away from the fact that this is Memorial Day. Please go and listen to the first part of the show. If you need to have a somebody to remember, go and read the story I just posted up on my webpage, LaVern Vivio, about Terry Smith. That is the brother to Don Hagen. Yes, the ones that used to own Springfield Drugs. So you can go and read that and learn Terry's story. But you can also go to the memorial that's going to be 9 to 9:30 today at Austin and Bell in Greenbrier. So that's 9 to 9:30. You can go to the memorial service if you would like to do that. But just remember, your freedom's not free, y'all, and enjoy your Memorial Day, but do not forget what it's all about. Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Thanks for having me today.
Always. Thank you for coming. Thank you guys for joining us. This is